Welcome, everyone, to the Modern Sacred Women's Work podcast. My name's Abby Payne, your co host, and we're excited to have conversations around what it means to be a modern woman, reconnecting with our sacred work as feminine beings, rebalancing the masculine feminine energies.
I love it. I'm Chelsea Henderson, your other co host. And thank you so much for joining us for our messy, informal conversations where we just explore all that is so important to us and what we think is important for the world. Thank you and enjoy. All right,
Hello,
my dear.
hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Thank you
How
for
are you doing
joining
today,
us.
darling?
I'm doing okay. Like I was saying before we hit record, I just got back from vacation, which was wonderful. Um, and then all the work and business stuff hitting me today, taking my breath away. I'm like, oh, back to
Yeah,
the washing machine of my mind when it comes to all this shit. Like how to navigate it in a feminine space that is joyful and no, it doesn't have to always be joyful, but in a way that is enjoyable.
absolutely. Yeah, I feel like we're in a similar energy space today. I've had a couple big events the last few days, and we were just talking about this before recording, but really identifying with myself as an introvert, and all of the things that go along with that. Just like, and I think living my whole life up until very recently, kind of thinking I was the opposite and running myself ragged. And so now it's like, okay, how do I, um, live more aligned with my energy and, what that is for me really. And, uh, it's a lot more rest. Okay, so one of our questions that you and I came up with to ask our guests is about their human design. So I've been into my human design the last 2 years, but I haven't really dug super deep. So I'm curious to get more involved in terms of like understanding it better. But I think for me, like I'm a projector, and
Oh.
projector energy types need a lot of rest. Like we have a typically, I think what they see is that you have a couple of hours a day that you're really like generating things. And then the rest of the time has to be about kind of just being in the space and like letting your energy recoup. And that's really been landing for me recently is like, yeah, that is really who I am. And if I try to push beyond that, it's doesn't actually yield great results. But it's
Mhm.
been really funny because you talk about, like, coming from that feminine space, like, aligning with that in a way that isn't, like, self-judging in any way is, it's like a whole new world for me, you
The
know?
self-judging is huge.
Oof.
Like, am I allowed to be a woman?
Seriously, and also, to go even a further step than that, am I allowed to be me?
Yeah.
Because that is the thing, like, I had an event on Saturday, I had an event last night, today's Wednesday. I just need to rest. Like, this is the most that I'll be doing today, like, maybe a little light housework, but, like, just chilling in my space, and that has been years of me being that person, and, I'm being really judgmental and being like, feeling ashamed of these days, and it's funny because the more that I make space for it, the more I realize, like, it actually allows me to put out a lot more in the times I am producing things and contributing and whatever, you know?
Yes.
Um, so it's an interesting thing because yeah, I don't feel particularly allowed to be me if there's like a pressure, which is hilarious. I'm like, where is it coming from? Like,
Mm.
who is this, who is this body of people who are judging me for my, perceived lack of output or whatever? And it's like,
Exactly.
huh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I feel the same way. It can be really hard for me to rest, and it's something about being witnessed in it for
Uh,
me of
uh,
like, if my husband is home and I'm just chilling, watching TV, laying around, not really doing anything. I'm like, "Oh, go away."
I know. I
But if
know.
he's out of
Yes.
town,
Yeah.
on a trip or something, like, I feel like if I'm not being witnessed in it, it's like if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, does it make a sound? I'm like, if Abby doesn't do shit all day, but no one sees it,
Absolutely.
it doesn't count.
Absolutely. But the funny thing is, I feel the same way with my husband. Has your husband ever expressed judgment about it? Because mine really has not. Not in a real way. I mean, my husband is a much higher energy than I am and can just do the normal kind of like socially expected, Western culture, wake up, do your 40 hours bullshit that exists in the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, thing of it all. And, so it's noticeable for sure that I'm much different energy than him, but it's not like he's coming in on those days and being like, "Hey, sloth, get up.
Well,
Go
I think
make
what
some
you just
shit."
said is important because it's like an energetic difference, like, because my husband's the same way. He's like, up, trail run, go to work, ride his bike to work all day, ride his bike back, go for another trail run. He has a lot of energy, and I feel the polarity sometimes of like, he's so, go, go, go energy. And then I'm over here like not wanting to do anything. And it's the tension between
Yes. Yeah.
that I feel. And I think the patriarchy, how it affects men too, like he's talked about having a hard time with like feeling like he has to be productive all the time. And that, has helped, made him struggle in his own ways of like, I feel like I always have to be doing something. It's really hard for him to sit and rest
Yeah.
without doing something. A lot of guilt
Yeah.
comes up, a lot of shame, Catholic guilt. And so then I think I've taken all those energies, and then when I wanna chill, I'm like, I can feel the tension in the
Yeah.
energetic realm. When he's not here, that tension isn't there, you
That's
know?
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I can totally feel that, actually. There is but I wonder if the tension is more of my own making. Like, am
Mhm.
I creating that? Is that my shame for not feeling like because I talk about the projector energy, which is, you know, clearly like a different supposed to be, I think, I don't even know, but not necessarily just like the physiological energy in my body, right? It's more of a creative energy, an emotional energy, whatever. Um, but even in a physiological way, like I love to go on walks, I work out, but I'm not, like I lift weights, I do yoga. I'm still more I'm a slow walker. Like I just even my physiological energy levels are different, right? And my husband's like your husband's just that kind of just like we get up, we do the thing, we move around, we like get shit done. And I'm like, it's just a totally different approach, and so
Yeah.
I think there's the and mine is his is more aligned with kind of I feel like what society expects of people. We live that's the thing, like a mark of success, I think, in today's world is that you are just like a busy person. Like people are super impressed with how busy they are. They're impressed with how busy other people are, and I feel sorry for those people. Like I think that's just a real quick road to the end of your life without actually bearing witness to a lot of it, right? Like,
Absolutely.
but also, I don't expect everyone is going to be as slow and intentional and even unintentionally slow as I am. But we need those different energy types, right? That's
We do.
definitely like, I'm not going to be your husband and be a nurse and go help people. Like, that's not how I operate. So we need that person. That's important. Um, but it is funny because I think that has created that self-judgment loop in my head of like, I'm perceiving this as not meeting the kind of societal standard and expectation. So then I'm somehow failing, and then that, I think, to your point about being witnessed in it makes me feel very where
Yeah.
I'm like, "You know what? Actually, yes, I am gonna lay on the couch and watch House Hunters for the next 3 hours. So, go fuck
Yeah.
yourself if that
And you all can fuck
makes you
off.
stop with it." Like, sorry, that's happening. So,
Alright, that's
yeah.
my energy. Well,
Yeah.
as we learned last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, depending on when this comes out, you're Italian. And, like, the cultural energies in different places are different. Like, when I was in Italy, people I know who are from Italy, they, are much better at leisure
Mm.
than and if
I
anything,
don't
they structure, like, their whole life. They work
Europeans, man.
they work to leisure. They work
Yes.
to play,
Yes.
whereas we work to work.
We work to
And,
work.
like
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll say that is definitely something just in terms of being an American, that as much as I have such a deep gratitude for being born in this country and this time and the freedoms and the opportunity, it's overwhelming. The culture I struggle with sometimes is just, that does not resonate. And the reality is like, at least in my perception, I think, we can just say all of this is always going to be from, our personal perspectives, right? Like that's where we're speaking from. But the way I see it is that our culture does miss a lot of those things. Like, we have a much different value system. I think a lot of those European cultures, they're valuing, you know, time spent, connections made, those moments, and we're valuing things that take us out of the moment in a more in the American culture and maybe Western culture. I mean, my sister-in-law's Canadian, and we were talking the other day, and she was saying it's not that different here. We have socialized medicine, yes, and maybe we take better care of certain things like the environment is more considered in that, but like we're also Western too. Like people here care about money and they care about their careers, and that's a big part of what it is. And so, I think that the value shift that's happened there has forced people into a lifestyle that, maybe just takes them out of the moment, takes them out of being able to value, because you're absolutely right. Like for me, whether this is any sort of heritage thing or it's just who I am, maybe it's the long line of genetics, I don't know, but, a day well spent is a day where I never put shoes on. I am in my
Yes.
backyard most of the day. I'm touching plants. I'm hearing the wind in the leaves of the trees, my son playing, like, the dogs sniffing around, like, I have actually spent days watching plants grow. Like I love that, and I think it's time well spent. That's why I love cooking, because you have to be in one step to the next and get your hands in it, and you get to watch chemical reactions happening. You get to watch flavors melding and smell it and sense it, and it puts me in my body. It puts
Mm,
me in the moment, and so some of that, it's just longer and slower, and I feel like typical American culture doesn't have the attention span for that. It's too slow. It's just like, "Wow, what are we doing?" And there have been moments I was reflecting on this because on Saturday, I hosted a supper club, a goddess dinner, and I was sharing with the women that, like, I've always really loved that, like, water for chocolate kind of vibe, or idea of, like, that is very much how I experience cooking for other people, and I have to be really conscious of it because a lot of different feelings will come out when I am in the process of preparing, and so it's like, if I'm in a place of being really frustrated or angry, like, I have to be really cognizant to, like, "Okay, I'm gonna get that out while I'm, like, chopping, and then I'm gonna move to another feeling while I'm mixing things," because I don't want to put that energetic vibration into this phase of the cooking, or it's gonna make it weird. Like, it's not
yeah.
gonna come out the same way. I'm gonna rush it, I'm gonna whatever. And so there's a there's a space where I can process and be in my emotions, and they're not always easy, and I think that that is
Mm-mm.
something that our culture has really lost sight of, is like being in your feelings. And so I do think a lot of people don't want to slow down because it's uncomfortable. And we're a culture that is not into being uncomfortable. There's like got to be a pill for that. There's got right. So
Yes.
like I feel like that's a part of it too. It's just like I feel like maybe I'm also of a different culture in my mind.
Mm, same. Same. I resonate with everything you said. I really loved how you said when you're cooking or you're outside and you're watching plants grow, it puts you into your body.
Yeah,
That's how I feel too. Like when I'm really being slow and intentional or going I walk slow, just like
cute.
you, like I hike slow.
Totally, yes.
I'm like there's no reason to rush to the top of this mountain. We're on the hike to
Right.
be on the hike. We
Yes.
could drive to the top of the mountain. There's a road for that,
It's much
actually. It's
faster.
right over there, if that's
Yeah.
what you're wanting. When I see people just head down, furrowed brow, just walking as fast as they can past me, I'm like,
I
"Where are you
know.
going? Where are you
What the
going?
what's the point?
You are already here. Like, this is the destination." And so I'll walk really slow and I'll look around
I love that.
and maybe I'll stop and I'll sit and drives like my husband crazy because
That's
he's the type
hilarious.
that wants to get to the top of the mountain,
I know.
which is
Oh, yeah.
fine.
Listen.
That's his energy, but I think it's owning my energy and yeah, again, I don't know if it's the feminine spirit, if it's part of my heritage, if it's what it is, but I
Mhm.
love that slower living and giving myself permission for that. I feel like it's what America needs
Mm,
is to bring balance, and so, like, holding all the discomfort of the guilt, the shame, the badge of, "Oh, I'm being lazy today," the tension I might feel with my super productive husband, like, holding all of that while I stay slow and grounded
yeah.
feels like the spiritual work that I'm here to do, like,
I love it.
feels like my mission, and
Yeah.
I joke with my husband sometimes that, like, because we're kinda hippies, like, we're both vegan and we're both, like, environmentalists, and we're not like anybody else in our family. We're the only people in both sides of our family that kinda care about this stuff, and it's hard. Like, you feel that tension of, like, we're
Yes.
so different, and right now we're living in Salt Lake City, like, talk about different. Everybody's, like, Mormon and, it's just, like, it's
Totally
hard to
different.
be different. It's hard to hold that tension, but I joke with him that we're the hippies answered prayer. The 1970s, 60s hippies who
I
got
love that.
it and were into the environment and save the earth and hug the trees. I'm sure that they hoped that another generation would come after them that also cared and
Yeah.
continue to hold the tension. And so, like, even though it's uncomfortable, it's like we are answered prayer and we are the type of people that need to be in America.
Mhm.
We are Americans for a reason, and there's a reason that we want to live a slower life.
Mhm.
And our job is to hold the tension and to do it anyway. Try bring this shit back into balance
I love it. It's why you're here, why you chose to be here.
here in
Yeah,
America. Yeah.
absolutely,
Why
right
did I
now.
choose to be an American
Mhm.
and
Right
want to
now.
live so slowly?
I know. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Well, and I think a lot of what's coming up for me hearing you say that is just that embodiment piece. My husband is the same, will literally walk circles around me when we're walking together.
Same.
Or it's like doing laps. He'll get ahead of me, he'll come back, he'll get ahead of me. I'm like, "Cool,
Zach does the
whatever.
same thing. I'm
What are we
like,
doing
"Oh."
here?" I'm like, "You're like a fucking chihuahua, like, calm down." But it's just who he is, and, there's moments where I'm like, "Okay, are you just" like, I see people like that, right? The hit just walking, 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 walking. I'm like, "What are you trying to run from?" Is always my question. Then my husband will be like, "Don't psychologize me, bitch. Like we're not we're not doing that. I just walk faster than you." I'm like, I've got quads for days that my husband does not. My husband is a runner and I'm a lifter, right? So like
Yeah.
he's always joking that I'm just trying to wrap my friggin' like, linebacker thighs around each other. Like takes longer. I'm like, that's probably fair. It's true. Also, I feel like he's less in his body. Like, and that's just a reality. Like, his proprioception is so different. Like, he's just not in his body in the same way. And I think what you and I are practicing is trying to be more in our bodies and with the feminine energy and with the slower energy. It's just a totally different way of being, but the that embodiment piece, it does y first of all, it's not always comfortable, right? We are having to sit with the discomfort, but it is a different pace, I think, to be more in those moments. And I think that's kind of the rushing American culture
Mhm.
that I'm trying to distance myself from a little bit. It's just like, you know, I'm only successful if I'm busy. I'm
Exactly.
only of value if I'm busy, and I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that is something that's sold to us, and it's a pressure that's put on us and by others and by the unseen, and I just don't know, you rush to get there, and then you kinda miss the whole thing, It's
Yeah,
like,
you're rushing to the graveyard.
yeah,
Just rushing to the grave.
yeah.
You're like, you're gonna miss the whole thing if you're not careful,
Absolutely. Well,
you
and the
know?
idea of connecting, that was my theme for this weekend's dinner, and I was trying really hard to put that into a concise, kind of clear message. But really for me, it was what I ended up saying to them is, it's so hard. I feel like I've been to a lot of wonderful events in my life that I look back and feel like they were over so quickly. I kind of missed it. And I mean, I even remember that in my 20s. So, like, getting a massage and being like, the end massage is over. And I'm like, shit, I just missed it because I was in my head the whole time about what I was going to do next?
Yeah, exactly.
So that took me out of the moment and then took me out of the experience. And so there is that idea of like, and I think food is a wonderful way to do that, right? Because there's a historical element for our species there around, allowing nutrients in, and so other systems in the body are slowing down.
Yeah.
And so then once you kind of are shifting into that slower, energy, you're more present with it. And so there's that idea of just kind of like, okay, if we can breathe into this, if we can slow our energy down a little bit, then we're going to be more connected with this, and the experience will resonate more deeply, and it'll feel like we really got more of it because you're there one way or the other. The time is being spent, but there's
Exactly.
a presence or lack of presence that make it, you know, more rich or, more fleeting.
Yeah. It's so fascinating because it is like the assumption that that way of living is whatever label, lazy, bad,
Yeah.
not right, not productive.
Yeah.
It is neither good nor bad. Neither is like the more busy counterparts that we have, our husbands who like to go, go, go. And like, that's not bad. And the way that I walk slow also isn't bad. It's like that
Totally.
automatic assumption that I put on myself that like how I'm being isn't right, how I'm being isn't measuring up to how
Yeah.
up I'm supposed to be. Uh,
Yeah.
but that's where it's interesting. And I on a plane yesterday, I flew back from Boston and I was reading The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and it was
Love Gay
okay.
Hendricks.
I wouldn't say it was like, it's things
Haven't
I've
read that
heard
one.
before. But he was talking about time and how for so much of us, we've treated time as Newtonian. And he was hypothesizing an Einstein way of thinking about time. Like the Newtonian time is that it's finite, that we don't have enough of it,
Yeah.
and that we have to hoard it, or also kind of this energy that like it's the master and we're the slave. And it's like this finite resource that's running out.
Right.
Whereas the Einstein view of time is that we create time, that we are the holders of time. Like our animals don't know what time it is. They don't care. They're
Right.
not like, man, did a lot of napping today. That's shame on me. They don't like have that same kind of time. It's us human beings that invented time.
Yes.
and hold
Yes.
it and then said that we don't have enough of it. It's
See,
like,
I
what?
love that you're
We
saying this.
invented it and then we say we don't have enough of it. So he challenges in the book, which I really liked, of cut out the phrase like I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Because usually that is a scapegoat for saying I
Uh-huh.
don't want to do that. Like
Yes.
he gave an example of like if your child comes up and you're in the middle of a project and they say, "Will you play catch with me?" and you say, "I don't have time for that." What you're really saying is, "I don't want to do that right now. I want to finish my project." Because if they came up because they had a sliced hand and they said, "I think I need to go to the doctor," you wouldn't say, "I don't have time for that."
Absolutely.
It's more like you're not being honest about like, mommy wants to finish what she's working on right now. Let's play
Yeah.
in 30 minutes. It's like we use time as a scapegoat a lot too. I don't have time. Really, you're too busy and you're resentful about that, but it's just easier to blame this concept of time that's our slave master. And I'm just the slave to it. And it puts us into a sense of victimhood as opposed to creating our own sense of time. Hi, everyone. Abby here. Just want to take a moment to thank you for listening to the Modern Sacred Women's Work podcast. I hope you're enjoying the discussion, the episode today, and I wanted to let you know other ways that you can engage with the larger Modern Sacred community. So, Modern Sacred is a word of mouth spread business and community. We are not on social media. We don't have an Instagram or anything like that. We do have a Substack. So, if you want to head over to modernsacred.com, you will see a link to join our newsletter through Substack, where you'll get updates on upcoming events, book clubs, things that Chelsea and I are doing. Another way to engage is we have a monthly free women's circle called Witnessed. This is a space not to get advice or fixing or coaching. Witnessed is a space for women to come together and have that shared energy with each other wherever you're at in your journey. This is a place to see and be seen, to be in the energy of other women, and to also offer your energy in return. That circle is every second Thursday of the month from 11:30 to 1 Mountain Standard Time. We also have quarterly book clubs, which are 6-week group facilitated spaces where we work through some kind of women or defined feminine empowerment book. Our spring 2026 book is Maiden to Mother, which explores the shift into a more mature version of femininity as we embody the mother spirit. So that is upcoming in April. We would love to have you in that space. And we also have a Modern Sacred membership. This is a $30 a month membership that gives you access to an expansive resource library of meditations, courses, PDF downloads. We are adding to it all the time. You'll also get 20% off of any book clubs, special or seasonal events, and upcoming retreats as a member. You can find all the information for our Witnessed Circle, book clubs, upcoming events, and the newsletter on our website, modernsacred.com. Modern Sacred is a multi-generational space, and like I said in the beginning, we are a word-of-mouth spread community. We believe that our attention is best used on each other and not in social media, so we depend on our members and people who listen to this podcast to spread the word on what it is that we're doing. So please subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, wherever you listen. That really helps us to reach other women, and share this podcast or our offerings with someone else in your life who you think would benefit from being a part of this community and having more regular connection to other women. We would love to have your community be part of our community, and we thank you so much for helping us to spread this work among the world. All right, get back to the episode, and I hope to see you face to face soon.
That's awesome.
Wasn't
I
that isn't
love
that
that.
good?
Well, and I mean, I love to hear you talking about this. I love to hear that other people are talking about this because I feel like this is one of my obnoxious um soapboxes. Yeah, soapboxes where because I think about that all the time and I talk about it all the time. I consider myself alternative as well. I was raised by hippies. I was raised vegan. I'm not vegan anymore, but I know that life, right? I That's how I was raised. And I get that of just being like, I'm not like everybody else. And when I was younger, that was hard. Now that I'm older, honestly a point of pride. I'm so glad that I don't have to kind of unravel myself from a lot of what I think kind of more mainstream has done to people, right? I have a foundation in how to nourish myself well with food. I have a foundation in how to be more present, how to connect more, like that's part of just how I've always been. Um, and that shit drives me crazy. I'm like, this is all made up. I'm like, it is all made up. And I get the functionality of it, right? I get like I had an event last night. The event started at 5:30. It
Mhm.
ended at 8:30.
Mhm.
If I was
Right.
just like, I'm coming when I feel like it, I probably would have rolled in there at about never because I didn't even
Yeah.
want to get out of my bed, but like if I roll up at 6:45, the event is going to be half done. So, like, I totally get that, and I understand that that's important so that we can all kind of make society work. I think we take it too far by the, like, extremity of it all, like, "Well, you're 2 minutes late to this meet." It's like, who fucking cares? Like, what like,
Yeah.
I think that there's a moment where we should remind ourselves that this is a man-made it's like money, like we made it up and look how funny it is that we just keep making up new rules to help with the ways that our first made up version didn't work. It's like the
Yeah.
stock market. It's hilarious. I'm like, it's just a bunch
Uh,
of dudes making shit up. And they're like,
yeah.
well, that didn't work. So we're going to create a new thing here that makes this thing work. But then this is going to mess up something over here. So we're going to have to make something up over here. I'm like, we're just
You're like, by the way, sorry to interrupt you, gentlemen. Dinner's ready. That is real. The soup that I made from the vegetables I grew, that I
Yeah,
chopped
yeah,
and cooked
yeah,
and was present with, that is actually real. All
yeah,
these things you're
and
talking
you guys
about
are
are
talking about
here.
things that, like, is it's based on I mean, it's funny because like, my son has a kitchen set of, like, a diner part of it, and it comes with little fake dollars, and I always laugh with that. I'm like, "This is fake," right? But then the paper that we made up, that we
That's
print and
real.
everybody's super sure that's real, and it's like, nothing is real. This is all just a fever dream that we're in. Like, none of this matters that much, and it matters at the same time, right?
Yeah,
Like, I think that it's okay
very
for us to
much.
hold all of that at once because that's life,
Mhm.
and it's all happening, and it's all real, and it's all not real, and, like, whatever, all the layers, but I find it funny when we get overly, um, when we grip at all of that too hard. It's like, you know, people who just can't let some of that go. It's just like, oof, feels like a real rigid way of being in the world when we made it all up and you skip forward a couple hundred years and none of this might even exist anymore. And probably
Mm-mm.
won't because everything changes, right? So,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
There's something about that that I think we should take ourselves a little less seriously.
I agree. Like, I was on a jog through Boston, and I'm running, the sun is shining, it's like 78 degrees, it's perfect, right along the harbor, and there's this homeless man, and he's packing up his tarp from the night and packing up his stuff, and he's just saying, "I love my life. I love God," kinda doing the homeless guy yelling thing, but
Mm,
he was smiling, and he was older, probably, like, in his 60s, and he was just like, "That's what a beautiful day," and he's like, "It's wonderful," and I kinda ran by, and I was like, "Me too. I love my life, and I love God, and what a beautiful day," and he went, "Thank you." It's like, no one in this city gets it, and Boston is a pretty money-focused city. All those big cities, I feel like, can be, especially East Coast, and he said, "No, but no one gets it." And he was just like, "Thank you," gave me a high five. I'm like, "That guy potentially is happier than a lot of the people
absolutely.
with all the money in their fancy houses on Beacon
Absolutely.
Hill."
Yeah,
Like, he gets it, he's present for his life, and
yeah.
I'm sure the homeless experience has high highs and low lows. Like, the days that you wake up and you're on top of the earth and you're like, "This is amazing," and the days that are really low.
When it's,
But,
like,
like
-2 degrees and there's snow on the ground and all you have is a tarp, yeah, I'm sure it's a lot more rough for the human
right,
body.
right.
But man, oh
But I
man.
also know that I've met enough homeless people, low income, as a nurse in my work with public health, who are happier than people who have a lot of money. And my husband used to do health screenings, and he said that their numbers were often better too. Their cholesterol, like sometimes their actual biomarkers are better because they're just less stressed. And that's, I'm sure,
Yeah.
not for everybody. It's all dependent on your own situation and your stresses, but more money, more of this fake paper, more of this like fake success isn't always like the path that we think it's going to be.
I think there's diminishing returns too. I do think there's a sweet spot. I remember being, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, saying this to somebody like I've always aspired for middle class. I think middle
Mm,
class is a real nice sweet spot where you don't have the anxiety of, your home or your car getting repossessed, of, the lights getting shut off, how are we going to put food on the table? How are we going to get medical care? But you don't have this heavy energetic burden or just, you know, constrained values of some made up thing like money being what matters to you most, right? So you're in
mm,
that sweet spot. Basic needs are met and you still have room to, value things outside of that construct. And
yeah, that's
the
awesome.
person I was talking to was like, "You're fucking nuts. Like, that's stupid." I'm like, "I wanna be wealthy." And it's actually funny because I still know him to this day, and he's not wealthy but probably has more money than me, and I don't think he's that happy. I don't think
Well,
he's
when is it ever enough?
Yeah,
When is it
exactly.
ever enough?
Well, and also, like, let's also remember that, like, we are very analytical in this existence currently, but that's only one part of the system that makes up our experience. We're in these bodies, and a lot of times we get lost in our minds and neglect the body. And if you're so in this heady space of this made up thing, that's only going to take you so far. And the other things that you and I are talking about, connecting with ourselves, connecting with moments, that puts us more in our bodies, which is a whole other aspect of the equation. And it's a
Mm,
humongous system, that we're just a lot of times neglecting. And even if you practice good health, right? Even if you're the person who exercises and eats well and takes supplements, that's only, again, one part of that humongous system. So I do think that again, it's the balance and appreciation of a holistic kind of awareness and approach that you're going to get a much deeper richness from,
mm,
stepping out of that overly analytical. I think there's something
mm.
very heady about just having money be your driver,
And
right? You
I feel
are
it in
the
myself.
focus.
I feel it in myself when I'm in that space, for sure. And
Definitely.
that's like, I don't know if we recorded this part, but just the washing machine of my own mind. Like being on vacation, I didn't do any work, I didn't do any business stuff. I just let myself completely unplug, right? And then getting back today and logging onto the emails and everything, it's like I can feel myself come up into this brain where it's all about metrics and numbers and money and what should I charge and how do I get clients and marketing and people I'm going to have meetings with, and I'm literally feel myself leave my body.
Mm,
And it was so nice
absolutely.
to be on vacation and like just really be with each present moment, and like that is my main value, is presence. And when I feel that I'm going astray from that, it's because I'm really up in my mind in all that analytics. And it's the constant kind of battle that I seem to have, is like living more from the heart and the body and less from the mind. Because
Yeah,
I tend to hang out there, up there a lot. And it's not
absolutely. We all
fun.
do.
It's not fun. It's stressful. And it's all made up stuff. And like you get to the end of the day and I'm so stressed. I'm like, why? Why? I have a house, a
I know.
roof over my head. I have heat. I have food. I have clothes. I have a cat I love. I have a husband I love. Like, what am I
Yeah.
so stressed about?
But that I think is the overly analytical, we're too much in the head, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I've even worked with women who, take a real Silicon Valley approach to uh, embodiment. That I don't think they're even practicing or aware of embodiment, but the management of the body, right? It's
Mhm.
still driven by, so they take excellent care of their bodies on a physical level, but they're missing a whole other component that's the
Yeah.
energetic. Right? I mean, if you look at the body is its own universe. It's much more complex. So the things we eat are important, taking supplements are important, working out is important, but that's only a part of it, right? And then the headiness is a part of it, but we're like, quadrillions of atoms or I mean like we're billions of cells. Like each of those little tiny pieces that make up these bodies are alive and they're humming at a vibration and they're all trying to work in concert with one another. It's actually insanely amazing to start to think about that and break that down. And so you know, it's amazing to say, I'm going to take really good care of this body as a machine and I'm going to
Right.
feed it this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But if you're heady and you're just like, "I'm gonna take care of it in this disconnected way," there's still something missing there
Yeah.
because you're still disconnected. And I wish I had
Mhm.
more better language for it. I can visualize it in my head, but it's hard to speak to it in a way that's eloquent and clear. I think that it's something that we're all having to kind of deal with in this society, and I think that there is an element of scarcity that exists that is maybe human nature, maybe it's Western culture, maybe it's capitalist society. I don't know. Maybe it's all of those things. But I think to your point of feeling stressed when you actually probably don't have to, when you evaluate things more clearly, aligned with your values, that energy just exists. It's there. You know, I have to acquire things, I have to aggregate things, I have to
Mhm.
hold on to things, I have to defend things. Um, that's a heavy energy. So it makes us
It is
always feel
heavy.
like we've got to be going and doing more. And then when you stop, like, why?
Yeah.
What is my actual goal here? We're driven by that, and a lot of times it's driven without any actual, like, intentionality or focus, and it's this
It's
energy
it's
that gets
really
us.
interesting because it feels like going back to what we were saying about time, it can feel like it makes me feel busy
Mm,
to be up in my head and like, "What should I do here?" And maybe I should be, yeah, buzz, 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 buzz. It's like, "Oh, I'm busy, and I'm supposed to be busy, and this
yeah,
is how I'm supposed to feel." And to not be busy either in my mind or in my body means I'm failing or I'm not doing this right. I'm supposed to be productive. So even in the mind,
yeah.
and in that book I was reading last night, he talks about the upper limit problem, which I've like heard a little bit about, but I liked how he phrased it, which is that we tend to kind of bring ourselves down a lot. Like, for example, if you go on a wonderful vacation with your partner and it's amazing and you have a great time, you don't fight at all, and it's just your sightseeing and whatever. And then you get on the plane and you come back home and you get in the car and you have a fight. And it's kind of like, okay, vacation's over. Let's get back down to our
Mm,
baseline, which is maybe your baseline is you bicker a little bit or like life isn't easy. You can't always live as though it's vacation. Like that's vacation us. This is real life us. And you like subconsciously maybe even pick a fight about something small to kind of put your feet back on the ground. And it's
mm,
that whole idea that in psychology that we have a baseline, and when we go too far above that baseline for too long, it kind of like triggers a switch where we bring ourselves back down because it's too scary up there. It's like we're more comfortable bickering and feeling stressed. It's our baseline. So he's encouraging people in this book of like, stop doing that. Catch yourself doing that.
huh.
And caught myself doing it because wouldn't you know, we get on the off the plane and we get in the car and we start fighting about Chipotle. Haven't fought in the whole vacation, and He's like, "Will you punch in Chipotle?" I'm like, "It's 10:50 PM. They close at 11." He's like, "I think we can make it." I picked the closest one on the map. It wasn't the one that he wanted because it was gonna be outside of our route, and by the time he realized, it was closed. I'm like, We tried to get to Chipotle with 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
We're setting ourselves up to have a bit of a fight here." And then,
No,
he started
fine.
having a fight with me, and I'm thinking on this book, and I'm like, "Wow, we're bringing ourselves back down to reality,
The
that we're not on vacation anymore. It's time to bicker a bit. It's time to be a little bit miserable in Salt Lake City." It's like, "Okay, how about I just not feed into that?" And I didn't. I was
I
like,
love it.
"I'm not gonna feed into that." But I'm like, I'm seeing what's happening here. It's really just interesting in my own mind with that busyness or living up in my head and going over all these ideas. It's like, is that my comfort zone? And like, to live life very present and at peace
Yeah.
is so above, like, but I could live every day like that if I got used to it.
Yeah, I think there's something again, I think it's oversimplified any of the places that I would accuse of being responsible for this originating from, but that is very we're taught along the way that we can't always be in a place like vacation.
Right.
But why?
Right. Exactly.
Right? And like, yeah, I mean, I think it's the idea of just like you're not producing enough in that space. But I think plenty of people produce just fine in a lifestyle that isn't confined by, traditional expectation, right? Like we can still have that feeling of freedom and centeredness and connection with ourselves in our day-to-day lives. It's a choice. It's how we perceive. It's how we, align with what we're doing,
Yeah.
So that I think is an interesting societal thing,
Yeah.
and that makes a lot of sense when you don't want people to aspire beyond a very mediocre existence. For a long time now in building this country and, Western modern lifestyle, a lot of people have had to endure pretty mediocre existences. You think about the office of the '80s,
Mm,
it's like
mm.
we had one of the designers last night at our presentation event designed for schools and was talking about these modern designs that actually incorporate, the outside world and nature and, longer points of visual view and all these elements and the executive director who, was co-hosting the event when her presentation was over, got up and was like, "I have to thank you. Like my elementary school, only had windows that came down so far because the idea was that children would be distracted if they could see the outside.
Wow.
And so we had limited sunlight, we had limited views, and, that was the era where everybody suddenly had ADHD. It's like, yeah,
Wow.
because 'cause you're confining them in a box without anything that's evolutionarily inclined to, like, m make us, who we are.
Wow.
Like, yeah,
That
so
is wild.
it's wild, and it's really interesting, like, we've done some funny things to ourselves, to our natural environment, there's been some funny things. Another woman was talking about that with design and, of having to recover from, what design has been, for the past many decades in terms of the environment, in terms of the complete lack of human focus.
Yes.
Another woman was talking about, if you design for those on the margins, you cover the whole, which I
Hmm.
loved. She was
I love
talking a
that.
lot about like how, like so many things, things are designed for whiteness and maleness. And so you're missing a lot. And she talked about like the curb cut effect. And when they started cutting, you know, dips and curbs so that wheelchairs could go through, that was all from ADA, when ADA
Wow.
compliancy started, back in several decades back. they started doing things like that, and all of a sudden you see the benefit for strollers, for travelers with luggage, for, construction, moving things on wheels, like, not just for people in wheelchairs, even for the
Uh,
elderly, for children, like it became more accessible for almost everyone and became a benefit for almost everyone. And so there's these things that I think a certain kind of cultural development, we've lost a lot of things. We left a lot of things behind, and now we're kind of going back and trying to be like, okay, well, we gotta
yeah.
like reincorporate. We've left so many out in
We just got so distracted in building the machine
distracted. I know.
that we
And building a
forgot what we
machine.
were building it for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we've talked about before, like you're building the house, but when do you get to live on it? When do you get
Mhm.
to be
Yeah.
in the home? Like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
Yes.
that's really, I love that. When you design for the margins,
You
it
cover the whole.
benefits the whole. You cover
Yeah.
the whole. That is so good.
No,
Yeah.
she was awesome. Her presentation was awesome, and what she was talking about was awesome, and it was, very focused on the female experience, in terms of design, because that's just like so many things, like the normative range that has been created in our society. We've seen it in healthcare. I'm sure you've seen this. It's like
Yep.
we just don't, a lot of what was studied, a lot of what was designed for was this kind of standardized white male experience. And I mean, even I think we talked about this last time, or maybe you and I have just talked about this, but like, in healing, as a general kind of like uh emerging area of focus, something you and I are both very interested in, that even in terms of like emotional development, emotional healing, emotional awareness, a lot of that developed, in 19th, 20th century by white males. So it was
Mhm.
very intellectual, it was very heady. We are going to
Mhm.
think about the problem. We are going to design and create
Solution.
a solution for the problem, and we are going to work the solution, and we're going to talk about it. And it just completely left out the body and completely
Yeah.
left out a lot of range of emotion, because typically there's a more specific range of emotion that's being experienced there that was appropriate to experience there. And so now there's a lot of that's been left by the wayside. And I'll say again, I've said this before, I love talk therapy. I've had a therapist since I was fucking 14 years old. I always have that because it's a wonderful space to get to process in a neutral space and get to just be honest, and not have to worry about social judgment and implications about whatever it is that
Anything
I'm
you say.
just
Yeah.
whatever, I can say
Yeah.
whatever, and that's okay. That's a beautiful space. It's, to me, one piece of a much larger approach. And
Yeah.
so I think there's a lot of that we're seeing, and then kind of diving into when we think about our potential. I was listening to a guy, um, on a podcast talk, and he was talking about, this was a lot more kind of like what I like to call woo woo, but it was very much about kind of like our potential as a species, and just talking about, and I know like this, we've talked about this before. This is a big thing for me, but just like the potential for our species is very much lies in that emotional range, the
Mm.
creative range, the range of higher vibration, which is love. It is that kind of like what brings us to that highest level of vibration. And going back to what I was talking about earlier, being this kind of universe within a body, this multitude of cells and atoms, which is all energy. If we're looking at like how we can evolve and grow and kind of step to that next elevated potential place for us as a species, like that feels like a big part of that is like
Mm.
all those little cells, all those energy bodies are vibrating,
Yeah.
that everything is moving. It's just at different speeds, and so when you get into those places, of love, of
Yeah.
open-mindedness, of connectedness, of all of that, your vibration gets higher and higher. It's like they study people who meditate. They've
Yes.
studied large groups of people meditating, and it actually shifts the consciousness, the awareness, the experience, of not just them, but people around them. They've done
Yeah.
studies on like large groups meditating in a place where no one around them in the geographical area knew that that's what was happening. And then they were able to measure positive results in the people around them who had no awareness of this happening, who had no connection to this happening. So you're actually raising the vibration for
Like
yourself and for everyone,
collectively.
the collective.
Yeah, that like your energy
Yeah.
has an effect on people, like your neighbors that you've never met,
Yeah.
that
Absolutely.
you see leave their house and,
Yes.
every time you say like, "May they be well, may they have peace," like
Yeah. Yeah.
it, and maybe you take it a step further and you give them your number if you ever need someone to check on your cat. Love to help. Even if they
Absolutely.
never call, even if they never
Yeah.
text, just knowing that like you're a friendly neighbor
Yes.
can completely change the energy of your street and then your neighborhood and then your state.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
and I think, when we think about the larger experience happening now, the larger political climate in our like nationally, globally, the wars happening,
Mm,
a lot of the developing areas of the world still that are putting themselves through a lot of suffering trying to catch up with Western cultures like the US that have, created what we've created, trying to fast track that. There's a lot of suffering happening, and there's not a lot we can do individually to affect positive change without radically, that's really challenging, right? To like
yeah.
rip yourself out of your life and go to some country in the Middle East or in Africa and try to actually, like, affect change,
Yeah.
to go to India and try to help people. It's like that is maybe less realistic for the majority of us, but we can potentially affect change by thinking of them and focusing energy. I mean, the reality of these balls of energy that we are is that everything is energy and it's all touching, it's all connected.
Mm,
So you and I are in different states right now, but we're actually touching each other. That's
yeah,
like
we
the
are.
reality of this existence on this planet. And so there is a potential there for, kind of affecting the change that we'd like to without having to, leave our lives and
Leave our lives and all the things that we're used to
yeah.
and I know we've like touched on this before, but it's the work of both men and women, but particularly I think it's part of women's work is for women to rise up and claim their own energy. And the people pleasing, the yes man, yes woman, self sacrificing, self abandoning, it's not serving anybody. It's not serving us and it's not serving
No.
the whole. Because
No.
the more that we can take care of ourselves and to be around someone, a woman or otherwise, who is barefoot in the backyard growing plants and making you an amazing meal.
Uh,
And just to be in that home, to be in that environment is so deeply healing. There
mhm.
really is nothing more that I think we could do personally that would have more of an impact. Like how we vote really matters. Legislation, yes. Getting involved in your local government, huge.
Absolutely.
And like how we manage our own energetic signature. That's
Yeah.
the women's work.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree. I completely agree. And I think being conscious of time, we are at the end of our time for
Yeah.
this chat. I will say that I'm grateful that we're able to just be in this space as we are. I know you and I are both expressing today that we're very tired. I
Yeah,
don't
we
feel
are.
like this has been my most eloquent articulation. I think I think there's a few moments where I was like, wait, am I still talking? Um, so uh yeah, I'm grateful that we're able to just be in this space and be authentic
I agree.
and be tired. I think that is actually part of the women's work is to just be just more authentic.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not always shiny and pretty.
It's not always, ovulation, is it?
No. Ah, there's, like, multiple other days in the cycle.
There's
Damn.
more than just that, let's make a baby days. There's the days of preparing the
Sometimes you just
soil
have
for the
to
next. There's
maintain the
low
shit you've
days.
already created.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the
So,
same. I'm grateful to have shared this space and be
yeah,
together just as we are, because 'cause I'm feeling the same. I'm a tired girl today, but it was a great conversation.
I know. It's wonderful, and I love being able to just process these things. I feel like every time we do, it is elevating our vibration, and
I
that
agree.
is a big part of our contribution, and I hope a big part of more and more people's contribution. I think it is part of the collective elevation that we're
Mhm.
all a part of right now, and I will say as an ending note, the guy that I was listening to on the podcast, that was something he talked about that made me feel beautifully hopeful. It's just, our species, yeah, there's a lot of mess and there's a lot of conflict and there's a lot of suffering, and we have areas where we really struggle, and we are these beautiful creatures who are full of potential. We have the
Mhm.
ability to love and connect with ourselves and each other in this way that is, like, beyond incredible and gorgeous, and so, that is just it's all potential for us, and we are collectively working to soothe some of our issues and our bad habits and our harm toward one another and to our planet and to animals, and we are elevating, and we're doing it together, and we will do it together, and it just was like, "Oh, man, that's so beautiful."
Oh,
I'm really in that space. Like, anytime I have the opportunity, which is actually every day, I'm gonna approach people more and more intentionally with more curiosity and more love. Like, "Hey, we're doing this together. We're a
yeah.
collective."
Yeah.
And these
Contributing our own
conversations
piece.
are helpful to
Yeah.
me to really
Yeah.
stay in that space. So, as
Same.
usual,
Same
thank
for me.
you, and I just love you. Thank you so
I
much.
love you. Thank you for taking the time. It was
You
absolutely wonderful. Look forward
Yeah,
to next time.
absolutely. Okay, until next time. Mwah.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye.
bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Modern Sacred Women's Work podcast. We're so glad you came.
If you'd like to learn more about Modern Sacred, our offerings, book clubs, and women's events, you can go to modernsacred.com or follow us on Substack.
We were so happy you were here with us.
I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening.